Burnout or emotional exhaustion is not merely a buzzword today. It's an adversity that many young people face. For bloggers and YouTubers, this is a huge problem because most often people whose work is based on working with other people in real life, teachers, doctors, psychologists, or creatives who work from home, for example, both of them have to live with burnout. So you and I have to pay special attention to ourselves a little bit more than others. So why is this happening? Why do we feel uncontrollable fatigue and how to deal with it? Or how to avoid it in the future? Today I'll share with you both my own experience of how to deal with burnout and also the recommendations that I've collected on the basis of scientific articles and talking with a professional psychologist. This is Nader from Prodvigate, and here on this channel we're talking about how to make considerable progress on YouTube today. So since we know that creative people are more prone to burnout than others, this doesn't mean that all people in the world cannot suffer from it. It's just that burnout is more associated with emotions, to which creative people are a little more susceptible, since most of their activities are tied to emotions. Burnout robs you of all your willpower and it makes you careless about everything around you. Burnout is kind of a rut, and if you want to know how to get out of it, the rule is so simple. You need to relax and not panic. And this will be our first tip in the fight against burnout: to relax and not panic. So, who is prone to burnout? According to science, people who are prone to empathy, responsibility, as well as those who are pestered by obsessions are at risk of burnout. People of certain professions are more susceptible to it as well. However, people are not psychologically divided into YouTubers and teachers in terms of psychology. They're divided more by temperament. Someone can endlessly, like a madman, keep doing things non-stop, saying, "I'll sleep when I'm dead." And only after decades they'll lie in bed with fatigue for a couple of years because of their years of burnout. So, before you think deeply about that, you need to understand what kind of person you are. I am quite active socially in my life, even though I am mildly introverted. When I'm burned out, I hate everything around me and I feel like doing nothing but eat snacks and binge watch Netflix all day long. So the reasons why creatives burn out. There are generally recognized causes of burnout. They are divided into two groups: external and internal. Let's start with the external. For example, a busy work schedule, incompetent salaries, deadlines, distractions. It's impossible to immerse yourself in work all the time sometimes. You need to rest and just say, "What the hell?" Also, hated jobs, work conflicts, being isolated or pressured by your boss. And the internal, like hyper-responsibility, saying, "I must do it correctly and perfectly on time." Being fearful of your boss. The feeling that work is a super value, it always comes first. Duties. Fear of letting people down. These are common reasons that concern everyone, but I would like to focus more on what concerns you and me as potential YouTubers. Let's go through my points. First, high expectations from yourself. No one is above you in this business. You are your own boss, but if you're adequately working on the channel, it means that you're hyper-responsible and you don't need any bosses, right? We know how to dive ourselves better than any strict leader. Today, we're all subject to a lot of psychological pressure simply from, the very presence of the internet, because the system of values of innovators are now being actively promoted in it. You have all seen these people 100 times where very young guys have already achieved everything they wanted. They bought a house, an apartment, and provided for their parents. And such success stories act as a motivator for some people, but for others, it can have a very negative impact on them. To deal with this problem, you have to keep reminding yourself that comparing yourself to others is doing more harm than good. Well, there's many people who can't stop talking about their success, right? And if you just purchase their courses, that'll change everything in your life once and for all, and you'll become rich and famous. If you've encountered all that, remember that those people are actually selling you nothing, and before they sell it to you, look at their life. Are they really so successful, or is it just a figment of their imagination? You should understand that the cult of success is not suitable for everyone. Big money requires a lot of responsibility, and no one ever will tell you what is behind all these success stories, the yachts, the villas, unless they're trying to sell you something. The second big reason for the burnout of YouTubers is the negative feedback from subscribers. We're constantly in contact with people and depend on their opinions, no matter how much we'd like to be free from anyone's influence. Viewers on the channel are mainly categorized into 3 types. The first watches in silence and sometimes likes your videos. The second is a big fan and comments on everything. And the third is a hater and sometimes tries to rain on your parade. The thing is that if the first type doesn't affect you emotionally in any way, they still just exist on your channel. Then the other 2 types of viewers kind of play with your mood swings. However, good comments make us feel good about ourselves, but we tend to forget them because good things are easily forgotten. On the other hand, we always remember bad comments. So, how not to react to haters? Haters' goals are to devalue your work. Mainly, these are people who are just jealous of others and don't understand how to achieve the same success. They think that all bloggers are just fake and they just, don't earn money from, blogging or being on YouTube. They're just entertaining us. And how dare you make money from entertainment after all? Well, they have to work a tedious job day and night. And so they, unfortunately are driven by this resentment, envy, and loneliness in some way or another. Haters don't care how much effort you put into your work. It doesn't matter what it costs you. It's only important to them to spread their negativity by insulting you. But you have nothing to do with this at all. You're not to blame for their life problems, and you're not obliged to explain yourself to them and justify your actions. If you happen to get too upset by haters, then here are a couple of tips for you. Focus on positive feedback, people who are trying to inspire you and lead you to success. No matter what comments you like or dislike, the more comments, the better, as those comments help promote your videos on YouTube. Be honest with your viewers. Answer their questions honestly. Tell them how important positive comments and likes are for you, and how you're worried about negative criticism. Say what you feel and set personal boundaries. Don't let the haters get to you. Don't be afraid to disappoint your viewers because we're all people and people, project their fears and experiences onto you. Try to open up slowly to people without being a people pleaser. So, to summarize, haters try to devalue your achievements, and we forget to set personal boundaries and fall prey to their negativity, which leads to burnout. The third reason of the burnout for YouTubers is that we're not ready to cope with the ups and downs equally. Yes, it's clear that it's difficult to experience failures, so what does it mean that we're not ready to cope with success yet? For people who are already famous and successful, life is very difficult. Their whole life becomes an open book. So when you keep telling yourself that you can't make mistakes, because obviously successful people don't make mistakes, and when you constantly keep, yourself being in this emotional tension, it'll sooner or later drive you crazy and lead you to this scourge of burnout, where you will simply devalue all your achievements and decide that all this is not for you. You should remember that mistakes are normal and everyone has ups and downs. The desire for fame and success itself is not something bad. You just need to be prepared for what awaits you when fame comes. In conclusion, we must be ready to accept our failures no matter how high we climb. And the last point is the criteria of success for creatives. It's easy for athletes in this regard. You train well, you perform well at competitions, you get a medal and become successful. Well, I don't mean it's totally easy like that, but you get what I mean. So how about creatives? The criteria of creativity are so vague that they often force us to get lost in guessing whether I did something well, whether I provided the information correctly, and whether people liked what I did. In YouTube, those who are considered to be successful are those who have thousands or tens of thousands of views. And it doesn't matter what quality the content is, but this is not correct. You should understand that the criteria for success are determined only by yourself. And at first, you need to greatly lower the bar and ask yourself, did 100 people see you? Cool, you're doing well. Next time, you will make it to 200 and then to 500, and step by step, you'll achieve what you want without any burnouts. In conclusion, creativity is our self-expression, and only us who can choose for ourselves the right criteria for evaluating our success. So, what are the symptoms of burnout? In general, there is no exact list of criteria by which you can track the early signs of burnout, but I tried to collect for you as complete a picture of the symptoms as possible. A person with emotional burnout has disturbing thoughts. They relate, for example, to possible failures like saying to themselves, I'll not cope, I'll not success. The future seems unclear. It seems that everything will be even worse than it is now. The feeling of emptiness, everything that I liked before, now no longer brings me happiness. Constant physical fatigue, because this way your body needs some rest. Severe stress and social phobia, a negative assessment of yourself. It seems to you that you're useless and not capable of anything. You can't focus on what you're doing, and your body is trying to persuade you to do everything except your work. It seems to you that you've reached a dead end and a feeling of unhappiness. Everything that people call depression is most often burnout, because depression, if anyone doesn't know, is a serious psychological disease. How to prevent burnout? So our recommendations for tackling burnout are as follows. Keep yourself in balance. Never do all the work at once or at the last very moment. Plan both your resting time and work, both in equal amounts. I told you about how to do this in the video about the content plan, so please take a look at it. Go out for a walk more often. Fresh air is necessary for our brains. Don't set impossible goals. We've already found out that we're demotivated by the fact that we don't achieve anything, so set goals that you know you will definitely achieve, and do not forget to praise yourself for achieving them. Don't burden yourself with a lot of obligations. Learn to delegate. Reduce the number of your obligations. Don't push yourself with thoughts like, well, I'll definitely start working more and being more productive starting from the next week. Introduce new rules gradually, and usually any habit is developed only in 21 days. Therefore, any new rule in your life takes time. Perfectionism is good, but only in moderation. Remember that slowing down your growth can sometimes be very beneficial. If you need a break, then take it. It'll slow you down, but in the future, you'll invest in your growth with a new fresh start. Learn to appreciate what you've already achieved. Just stop and reflect on that. Don't focus on others who you think are better than you. There are people who are naturally talented and disposed to something more than others, but this doesn't mean that you'll not be able to, to come to this or be successful. I've never had any talents in my life, but I've taught myself since childhood to study a lot and work on myself. This is what gives me the opportunity to achieve what I want. But nothing I have managed to do so far has been so easy, right? Don't listen to those who doubt you. In fact, they doubt themselves. Communicate with good people, especially those who inspire you. Don't let the idea that what you're doing is not suitable for you to settle in your head, to separate your psychological despair from the truth. Make a list of why you did it once and what you liked about it. My friends often told me that working remotely is not a job. A few years ago, this made me doubt if what I was doing was worthwhile, and it seemed to me that I always didn't do enough. And as a result, I burned myself out. But then I realized that what they said shouldn't bother me. How to deal with the consequences of burnout that has already happened. Go on vacation. When you're already burned out, you don't want to do something dull. Take some time off and go on a short or a long vacation, and this will greatly benefit you. If suddenly your channel has become a hopeless case for you, then remember that you don't need to spend a lot of time working on one thing. You can make 1 or 2 attempts, but it doesn't work out. If it doesn't work out, you need to either change the topic of the channel or even the type of activity that you're doing. If you can go on vacation, then sit down and write down your duties. Make a list from the most important to the most insignificant. Sacrifice tasks to the maximum so that nothing falls apart. But at the same time, you did almost nothing and were able to relax. Force yourself to do something new, to study something, take up a new hobby. Perhaps it'll make you get to meet like-minded people who'll inspire you down the line. Accept the fact that YouTubers don't have any goals, of course. There is no gold medal that you'll receive at competitions. You always have room to grow, which means you'll never be able to stop. So don't blame yourself for slowing down in the process. This is okay, so that you can make a new breakthrough later. And finally, don't hesitate to seek therapy. It's not scary or shameful. When you have a toothache, you don't try to pick it out by yourself. Instead, you go see a dentist. The same thing applies to mental health. To wrap it up, burnout is a real problem for creatives and can prevent them from making good content. It deprives them of the ability to think sensibly, work productively, and enjoy it. And in order not to burn out, you need to carefully monitor your condition, track its symptoms, and if you still didn't have time to track it, take a deep breath and think that you can always get out of there. It just takes time and determination. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to click on the like button if you like this video, and let us know in the comments, how do you usually deal with burnout? So that was it, and see you in the next video.